Have you ever heard a name that makes the air around you shiver? Lilith. A whisper from far away, still echoing in ancient texts and in our collective imagination. Who was she, truly, in Jewish tradition? The first woman, or the mother of demons? In the Hebrew Bible, her name appears only once, in Isaiah chapter 34, verse 14, within a poetic list of desert creatures. No plot, no dialogue, just a shadow that finds rest among the ruins, as if this nocturnal figure was already familiar to ancient listeners. Around that single verse, an entire world of beliefs grew over the centuries. At Qumran, in an exorcism hymn, Lilith is listed among the, quote, unclean spirits that cause nightmares. Proof that by the 1st century, around the turn of the era, she was perceived as a real presence, something to be driven away through rituals and powerful incantations. Later, the rabbis of the Talmud mention her only rarely, but they sketch her outline, dangerous for anyone sleeping alone. Do not sleep in an isolated house, they warn, and link to nocturnal phenomena and an insidious sexuality. In Eruvin 18b, it is said that Adam, separated from Eve, fathered legions of female spirits. For some, Lilith becomes their queen, Lady of Shadows. In the Middle Ages, her story ignites. The alphabet of Ben Sira, 8th–10th centuries, a satirical work, presents Lilith as Adam's first companion, created from the same earth at the same moment, like a spark in straw. Equal, then, and proud of it. The conflict breaks out during sex, when Adam demands to be on top and for her to submit. Lilith refuses. We are equals, made of the same substance. Not a whim, but a statement of principle. Then comes the decisive gesture. She utters the ineffable name and flees to the Red Sea, a liminal place where unclean spirits gather. From this flight is born the tradition of Lilith the demon, mother of a nocturnal and hostile brood. God sends 3 angels, Sanoi, Sansanoi, and Samangilov, with orders to bring her back and restore order. The clash is sharp. The angels declare the decree. Lilith resists, claiming power at the threshold of birth, threatening newborns until the 8th day for boys and the 20th for girls. The angels counter. Each day, 100 of your demonic offspring will perish. Lilith does not yield, asserting her authority. A compromise follows. Lilith proposes a clause. Wherever the names of the 3 angels, or her own, are displayed, her power will be suspended. The angels accept and seal the pact with an oath. From this tradition come the amulets hung near cradles, tangible protections against the storied threat she represents. Lilith is both danger and rule, a presence that demands concrete precautions. History or myth? Better to call it a weave of layers. Isaiah, Qumran, and the Talmud as textual sources. The alphabet of Ben Sira in the legendary register. The amulets from folklore and popular practice. These layers do not contradict each other. They overlap, converse with, and reinforce one another. Before we continue, if this journey intrigues you, drop a like, simple gesture that helps these stories reach more people. We've encountered Lilith across Bible, rituals, and legend. In Jewish mysticism, however, her shadow becomes cosmic architecture. Shall we go a level deeper? Medieval Judaism does not relegate Lilith to the margins. Kabbalah integrates her into a symbolic framework where order and disorder collide. From the 13th century onward, Kabbalistic texts link her to the left emanation, the shadow side of the Sephiro, a feminine force of disharmony. In the treatise on the left emanation by the HaKohen brothers, she is paired with Samael, the great adversary, as an infernal couple mirroring Adam and Eve. 2 couples, 2 poles, good and its warped reflection. Some traditions imagine Adam as androgynous with a feminine aspect split off. Sometimes that part is projected onto Lilith, the dark feminine within the economy of creation. Elsewhere, Lilith precedes Eve, arising from Gevura, severity, or as a spirit born on the 5th day. This plurality is not a flaw. It is the living workshop of mysticism, which works through symbols, oppositions, and mirrors. Kabbalistic demonology then makes Lilith the queen of the succubi, the one who visits men in their sleep, steals seed, and begets demons. For some mystics, the union of Lilith and Samael is rendered sterile by divine decree to contain the spread of evil. For others, Lilith's energy is inverted into nightmare children born of nocturnal emissions. The night becomes a cosmic theater, the bed a frontier, wakefulness a watch. This cosmology meets practice. Incantation bowls and seal amulets appear on tables. On doors, ritual divorce formulas addressed to the demon. The spirit of the house speaks, bidding Lilith depart. These are traces of a religiosity that does not separate the newborn's bedroom from the heavens of the Sephirot. If Lilith threatens above, the community defends itself below. And the alphabet of Ben Sira? It is not a normative Kabbalistic source, but its tale continues to resonate. There, Lilith asserts herself as Adam's equal, refuses to lie beneath him, pronounces the ineffable name, and flees to the Red Sea, a sequence that, read symbolically, speaks of freedom and transgression, and therefore of punishment. From it also come the three angelic guarantors and the amulets, which mysticism rereads as seals against the other couple. Again, myth and history intertwine. The Kabbalistic references are symbolic medieval elaborations, not biblical testimony. The incantation bowls and some Aramaic texts mentioning Lilith belong to late antiquity. The rabbinic rules about not sleeping alone and protecting newborns come from the Babylonian Talmud. 3 layers forming a constellation of fears and remedies. For students, why the emphasis on the house and the bed? Because infant mortality was very high, and many cultures created demonic figures to represent the unspeakable. Lilith does not originate as a political tract. She arises as guardian of thresholds, birth, night, sexuality. And because she is powerful, her image has been reshaped multiple times. So we reach the heart of the second act. Is the first wife of Adam Jewish or medieval? Honest answer. A medieval reading grafted onto older allusions, Isaiah, Qumran, Talmud, reinterpreted to forge a mythical biography suited to the pedagogical and ritual needs of the time. And not everyone agrees. Rationalist thinkers like Maimonides downplay it. Lilith? Superstition, they would say. But the people continue to inscribe angels, names on nursery doorframes. The charisma of myth outweighs philosophical rigor. Let us return to the founding scene of the medieval myth. 2 beings created together, equal. The conflict is not only about a position in bed, even if the story highlights it, but about the idea of an original couple built on equality. The demonic turn is born from a refusal to submit. It is not the sexual woman who shocks, but the woman who says no. The alphabet of Ben Sira reframes the double narrative of Genesis 1:27 and 2:22, a first woman who flees, then Eve as the domesticated response. A theology told in parables, not manuals. Medieval and modern Jewish tradition reworks this scene in many ways. In some homes, amulets hang on walls. Kabbalistic texts meditate on the relationship between the Shekinah and her opposite. Among the young, whispers spread that certain dreams must be confessed. Lilith becomes a pedagogy of shadow. She teaches what to avoid, how to protect oneself, when to stay alert. At the same time, she shows that order must name disorder to remain credible. For students, here is a clear reminder. In the biblical sources, the figure appears only once, in Isaiah chapter 34, verse 14. In Second Temple Judaism, ritual and apotropaic references emerge, such as those found at Qumran. In the Talmud, although the mentions are rare, they reveal nocturnal dangers and prudent behavior. In the Middle Ages, the narrative takes full shape thanks to the alphabet of Ben Sira and Kabbalistic systematizations that link Lilith and Samael as a, quote, left emanation. Finally, in folklore, her presence is reflected in amulets, incantation bowls, and expulsion formulas. What remains, then, of the Jewish Lilith? 3 cores, N, First core, threshold and guard. Lilith inhabits thresholds, night, the cradle, eros. She is kept away by names, angels, objects, amulets, practices, not sleeping alone. Guiding idea, to darkness, one responds with words of light. Second core, the equality that unsettles. The medieval legend does not demonize sexuality itself, but insubordination. That is what makes Lilith fall from companion to adversary, a dialogue of equals turned into a war of principles. Third core, the feminine double. Mysticism casts her as the dark mirror of positive figures. Shekinah, celestial matronate. She is not ignored, but framed within the cosmic theater, a shadow that makes the light visible. Paradox. Without Lilith, feminine holiness would remain mute. With Lilith, it speaks through contrast. And today, in contemporary culture and in parts of Reform and secular Judaism, Lilith is reread as an icon of female autonomy. Is this legitimate? Yes. As a cultural interpretation? No. If one claims it is the ancient reading, classical Jewish sources do not celebrate Lilith. They fear or debate her. Only later do certain currents give her an emancipatory image. One rhetorical question remains, valid for every myth. Does myth explain reality, or does reality drive myth to change? In the case of Lilith, the second option proves powerful. From infant mortality to the management of eros, from nocturnal fears to struggles over roles and power, each era has reshaped her figure to meet its needs. Distinguishing these levels protects us from misleading simplifications. The biblical Lilith appears as an echo, a name among the desert creatures. The rabbinic Lilith instead becomes a real demon, fully integrated into the vocabulary of precaution. In the version of the alphabet, her story focuses on denied equality, producing flight, pact, and vengeance. The Kabbalistic Lilith takes on a cosmic dimension, embodying disorder, and standing alongside Samael and the succubi. Finally, the popular Lilith lives on in everyday practices of amulets, angel names, and prohibitions. At this point, the final scene writes itself. Night has fallen. The house is silent. A mother hangs a plaque with 3 names and whispers a prayer. She is not invoking superstition. She is caring, with the tools of her time, for what she holds most precious. And in this gesture, whether approved or not, Lilith continues to live as a pedagogy of limits. At the beginning, we heard a name that made the air tremble. Lilith. We now know why. In Jewish tradition, Lilith is a prism, biblical fragment, ritual fear, medieval legend, Kabbalistic figure, a necessary shadow that lets tradition say life has thresholds to guard, desires to order, demons to name. From Isaiah to the Talmud, from the alphabet of Ben Sira to the pages of Kabbalah, Lilith is a story that, because it disturbs, educates. The question returns, can we hear her without caricature? Yes, if we hold the layers together. History, sources, contexts, practices, myth, stories, symbols, allegories. Today, cultural reinterpretations. Thus, when we pronounce this name, the air still stirs, not in fear, but in attentiveness. If this journey into the heart of Jewish tradition has resonated with you, subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments which mythical figure you'd like to explore in the next episode. Perhaps a figure who, like Lilith, speaks of us when we thought she spoke only of the night.